why is it unbelievable that when I finished The Butler, my son, who went to a very fancy Upper East Side school in New York, says, Dad, did you make this up? Is this made up? No, son, it's history. I mean, they're not teaching it. They're not teaching them. America is unbelievable.
In good
America
and bad.
is, what you say?
I said in good and bad ways.
Yes.
So when you consider the fact that this is Andra's first major role, I'm looking at degree of difficulty here, who she's playing, right? That Diana Ross has played before and also been nominated. Working with you, like there's a lot in this that is very brave and could go wrong. What was it about Andra that made you say, she's the one to do this?
Because she didn't want to do this. I had to meet with her, right? I didn't want to meet with her because I was like, she's never acted before. Why am I putting myself through, why would I put myself through this again? Because I did it with Gabby Ray Sidibe, you know? And I was like, I've been there, done that. And, but I was really happy with Gabby. I just started thinking about Gabby's performance in it and how happy I was, you know, on the journey that she and I took together for Precious. And so when I finally met with her, because people were telling me she sings incredibly, and I love her voice. Her voice is great. She didn't want to do it. She was scared. I had to talk her into doing it. I literally had to talk the girl into doing it. I was like, well, you know, you want to audition, right? She goes, well, I don't know. Should I? I don't really. And I could see the fear in her eyes about the commitment. And I knew then that I was dealing with an artist, a perfectionist, someone that was similar to the way I roll. She rolls like I roll. We are both perfectionists. And she was terrified. And I knew that I knew she was going to jump off the cliff with me. I knew that when you have that kind of fear, that you totally rely on your director, you render yourself over. And I knew it. So that's why I sent her off to an acting coach and a vocal coach. And then she auditioned and it was like, whoa. And then she sang and I was like, whoa, whoa.
Was it a prerequisite for you to have somebody who could actually sing?
Yeah. I didn't really I couldn't afford all of Billie's music. So I was praying somebody was going to sing. Billie's catalog is pretty expensive. So I was praying that we'd have a singer. That was God looking over me.
It was, I think of the many things I loved about the movie is that it's taking a story that isn't often told about Billie Holiday, rarely mentioned. And I'll be completely honest that I was largely ignorant too. I saw Lady Sings the Blues like many, many years ago. I think I was a little girl and I saw it with my mom. And obviously that's a much different depiction. Some of it, yes, but like completely different than what you put forth on screen, especially because you are dealing with a particular sector of her life. What made you want to decide to do this project, knowing how people felt about Lady Sing the Blues and Diana Ross?
I did not want to do it. You have to understand, just like you felt about
you
Lady
Sing
Sings
the
the
Blues.
You didn't want to do it either? In the beginning, because listen, that movie is the reason why I started directing. When I saw that movie, I was a teenager. I was in the theater. I knew it wasn't going to be out. I wouldn't be able to see it for another 10 years till it came on television. We didn't have DVDs or nothing else back in the day. And so it changed my two beautiful Black people in love and the fashion and the music and Diana Ross and funny ass Richard Pryor. And you know, you could smell the biscuits jumping off the screen, you know, in Harlem. And so I wanted to do that. And so I think in some weird way, that movie set off the trajectory for me to become a filmmaker in some weird way. But 40 years later, Susan Laurie Parks, who won the Pulitzer Prize for Pulitzer for Top Dog Underdog, first Black woman to win that on Broadway for her play, wrote this incredible script about the government taking her down. And I did not know that. I think that Lady Sings the Blues, of course it's inaccurate, but I think that Black people needed that story because we needed to see two Black people in love. We didn't have that before. And it was beautiful. It changed my life. Like, it was nice to see people, Black people, glamorous and kissing. So what, she was a drug addict, I don't care. She was beautiful, you know, and she was, you knew that she was a star back then. I did not know that she was a civil rights leader. I did not know that she kicked off the civil rights movement as we know it to be. And I think that that is because the government has, it's what they do with all of our stuff. You know, they don't, if, listen, I'm a 61-year-old man and I've taken enough history lessons. I didn't go to college, but I'm self-taught to know about Black history. If I didn't know this story, how many other stories don't I know?
Yeah. I mean, that was, to me, what was the most shocking thing is like, just not even really knowing what kind of a leader that she was. Of course, we know she was a fantastic singer and what she brought to jazz, but to find this whole other part of her life, it was very inspiring for me, just watching that. Now, I've read that you said before that several studios passed on this movie, and you can clarify whether or not that is accurate. As they were passing, what was the feedback you kept hearing from people when they said no?
Not for us, too dark. Get Beyonce to star in it.
Okay.
The budget's too high. The usual, no different than I have experienced with Monsters Ball to Precious to The Butler. I mean, the usual story that I get when I was just surprised to get it after Empire, you know, and The Butler. I mean, it was clear to me that I, you know, with Empire that I had really, you know, shook up Hollywood to say Black people make money and that people watch us. That changed the landscape of Hollywood. That series changed the way Hollywood viewed Black people. Like, all of it, there wouldn't be a Black Panther. There wouldn't be any Insecure. None of them. It wouldn't be none of it had it not been for, you know, the revolution of Empire. So I thought that I thought, you know, it was going to be easier this time, but I was okay that it wasn't, because that's part of my journey as an independent filmmaker, because the stories I tell are not stories that studios want to finance. They want to jump on the good ship lollipop afterwards, you know. And I know I'm ahead of the game. I'm always, my thinking is always, my stories are always ahead of the curve, and that's okay. Somebody's got to do it for us.
As you note in the film, is about the originally was well, it is still called this, but the Emmett Till lynching act, as you noticed, part of the film that came to surface then, still hasn't passed now. What does that say that it still hasn't passed?
Girl, I'm asking you. It's crazy. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Corey and Kamala tried to get it passed and they could not. I think but why shouldn't we believe it in the America that we're living in right now? Why is anything unbelievable in the America that we're living in now? Why is it unbelievable that we don't know Billie's story? Why is it unbelievable that we are watching a noose at the Capitol? You know, why is it unbelievable that when I finished The Butler, my son, who went to a very fancy Upper East Side school in New York, says, Dad, did you make this up? Is this made up? No, son, it's history. I mean, they're not teaching it. They're not teaching them. You know, America is unbelievable.
In good
America
and bad.
is, what'd you say?
I said in good and bad ways.
Yes.
Obviously you did a lot of research and looking into her life. Aside from figuring out what kind of leader Billie Holiday was, what were some other things that you were surprised to learn about her?
Oh, wow. I mean, I was surprised that she was such a fashionista. I wanted to give, and then once I realized that, I called Prada to help me with the fashion. She was really at the forefront of fashion, and I decided to throw myself into, and it would make sense because my grandmother, my grandfather, all of my aunts and uncles, really, back in the day, Black people were snatched. They were, I mean, the patent leather on the shoes were shiny. It was a statement, and I really wanted to pay homage to her and her fashion. That blew me away. It blew me away that I didn't really know that she was thrown into prostitution at an early age like that. That really hurt me. And I didn't know whether I wanted to tell that part of the story, but I felt like I had to do Billy right. I felt like I had to tell the whole story. I didn't know that, the government was, I didn't know the government was planning drugs on her. I didn't know that she was trying to get, one has a certain image of a addict. You don't know that she's trying to get sober. She was trying to get sober. AA wouldn't let anybody in, women in at the time. Forget about a Black woman, but they didn't let women in. So there really wasn't a place for people to try to get better, for Black people in particular to try to get better. And so she was sort of doomed, and I think she knew it. I think she knew it.
The thing that surprised me, because again, my reference point is Lady Sings the Blues. I did not know how disgraceful and heartbreaking she died, the way she died. That was to me a really very very emotional. Here you have this woman who has meant so much to culture. I mean, Black culture obviously, but culture period. And for her to die chained to a hospital bed, I mean, it was just like, what? This is how Billie Holiday died? And there was just something about her death that was, it was just, considering the way she lived, I guess you could say it kind of fell in line to all the injustice she faced. But for me, that was probably the most heartbreaking part of her story, is how she left.
And I didn't even want to tell that part. You want to have a movie that has a happy ending. I want to at least have hope at the end. You try, if you look at all of my work, there's hope at the end. And like with The Butler and with Precious and there's hope. When I did The Butler, Obama was in office, and so there was hope. We were all happy. And this does, when the unmentionable came into space, this is really a call to arms. This movie's a call to arms, because you see how she was chained like that. That's why I put no spoilers, but that's why I put the ending. Did you see the credits? That's why I put the ending on, so that at least we have some sort of uplifting moment at the end. And also, I think that she did win at the end, because she tells them, your grandkids will be singing Strange Fruit.